of that to say, you know what I mean, in terms of the African spiritual systems and on top of vibrations, it's just dealing with just what is there in it, you know. Appreciation of the nature. Oh, my man, come. Oh, that's the right person.
Someone in the chat wrote the Black Rain in yeah. Next thing you know, boom, the Black Rain appears.
Good.
Man, like Chakra in the building.
Jeez! Jeez! So, come on! Yeah!
Amabu Shango, yeah. 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 Abajagba ebi oba kuso. 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 Abajagba ebi oba.
I am family. Bring it up here, .com. Yeah, man.
We
need a translation.
I say. Come on.
I slightly want to hold the L, you know, yeah? Like, yeah, with that intro and all that shit there, I slightly want to hold the L today still, like, but, you know what I mean?
Bring everything you have. Send for all of the send for all of them. Yeah, all massive and cool.
Yeah.
Enough friend. Like all challenge.
Sounds like he got some good sleep, boy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You see, big gun ready. You see, rise up the machine for them. Come through. Send for all of them. Send for all the Christian them. Send for all the Muslim them. Sunni, Shia, real business. Send them come. Send for all of the Hebrew them. Make them all and align. And stand up in front of the big Zulu spear. What you mean? You don't know.
Yeah, me feel them powers, the Shakara. Me feel it, me back straight. Ready?
Shakara, you know what the funny thing is? Not everyone is going to be able to relate to the energy that what we just put out, you know. And that's the sad thing about it. Not everyone is going to be able to relate. Like, not everyone's going to be able to tune in to that frequency there. You know what I mean? So, don't be. You know what I mean?
Look at Ultra trying to be part of spirituality, bro. You're atheist, bro.
Hey. Frequency is the same as being religious. And they say the dumbest things and they think it's like clever.
Your mic's low, bro. Your mic's mad low, Ultra.
Oh, shut up, bro. Sorry, man. Hold on, what's it?
Plug in your headphones, man.
Hey, yo, Shakara.
Yes, sir.
Question number one. Who's your God?
Okay, so when you ask this question here, are you asking for a name or a concept?
I'm asking for a being.
A being. Okay. So the answer to that question here, in simple terms, would be the creative essence of life is the equivalent of what people call God. As I quoted before, there's a Akan.
No. Can you stick to what you call God? I don't like vague answers like people. Stick to what you call God.
Let me rephrase so you can understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
God is a concept, yeah, of the creator, yes?
No,
Okay.
no. God is the creator. I'm not talking about concepts here.
It's a concept. It's a concept. It's a concept.
So God, hold on. So God is not a being.
No.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends on the God as a being is a concept of God. That's the concept.
Correct.
So just a simple yes or no. Is God a being?
No, God
is everything.
God is a sum total of all.
First question, we're already getting waffling out here, man. What's going on?
There's no waffling, man.
No,
there's no waffling. All it is that you've packaged your God having 99 names.
No. Hold on. It's not about me today. It's not about me today. It's not about me today. It's not about me today.
No, but it's no. We're equalizing the thing, and the point is that your God is still a concept.
No, I believe my God is a being. It's not about me today. It's about you guys. Okay, again, yes or no. It's a simple yes or no.
Oh man, listen.
Yo, Shaq.
Yeah.
So if we were to pick on as African spirituality, obviously it's hard for us to sit in between all of them,
Yes.
Or to say pick one and then go with that God and defend that one, the one that you want.
No, but the thing is, okay, that's very difficult to do coming from where I come from, yeah. But at the same time, like the God concept is not, especially because the God concept is not necessarily married to one in it, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? That man can explain the God concept without having to choose one, because like just like
they don't know what African spirituality is in the first place.
Shaka, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. This is the problem that you had immediately, and I knew as soon as one of the zombies jumped on, you was gonna have this problem. The reason why is because when you see the word God, what immediately
I was trying to explain. That's what I was trying to explain.
Yeah. No, but even if you explain it, right, you have to understand the type of people you're dealing with. When you say the word God, immediately he can't get his mind out of Allah. He cannot move from that square. He's going to pretend that for the sake of argument he can, but he cannot Shakara.
Ultra, it's not about me today. It's not about me today. Get off your high horse. Get off your high horse. It's not about me today.
Get off your high horse. No. There's no high horse back. But listen. The point being,
hold on. Okay, simple. Simple. Just define God. Just define God. It's simple.
Let me finish. But when you define God, you're defining him in terms of in terms of your concept, right?
Okay, I'm asking you to I'm asking you. Yes, of course, I'm defining it and how I see God, but it's not about me today. It's about you guys.
Like, calm down, man. I'm just asking a simple question, and then I'm gonna shut up, because I know how it goes. Asking you this question. Your vibrations regarding God, is it a concept?
Is it a concept?
Is it a concept?
No.
It's not. So what is it then?
It's what we believe actually is.
So
it's what you believe.
Wait,
actually is
did you hear the question you just asked him? And did you hear his response? He doesn't understand what you're saying, Nanifa.
No, he does.
What you're saying.
No, he does.
I don't understand you.
But
again,
being very careful as to how he.
Hold on.
Now he's going to say that
you just have to define what God is. Simple.
I told you, God is everything.
Oh, so God is so to you, God is even what comes out of my backside.
I knew you was gonna say that because you're so predictable. Jimmy, this is the levels.
You said everything, not me. You said everything, not me.
I'm gonna say.
Then
that question is yes. The answer to that question is yes.
I was about to say, if you really want to go there,
Bro, I never went there. You went there. I never went there. You went there.
That's because this is what.
Don't say if I want to go there. Don't say if I want to go there. Don't put it on me. Don't put it on me. Don't put it on me. Okay.
What do you mean? You said it.
Don't. No. Don't accuse me. No, don't accuse me of going there. You said it.
You said it. So of course I'm going to accuse you.
I never said everything. I never said everything. I never said everything.
You said even if it comes out of your backside, didn't you say that?
I never said everything. You said everything.
No, yes, I said everything. That is true. Yeah, and then your next
is what comes out of my backside. Is what comes. Is what comes out of my back. Hold on. Is what comes out of.
So you did say that then, yes? Because you're arguing with me for nothing. Anyway, go on, Shax, man. Seriously.
Yeah. So your latter question, yeah, makes more sense, innit? To define God, innit? Yeah. All right. So, would you allow me to do that? Hello. Can I be heard? I can't hear nothing.
Yo, yeah, I think my man's reception went away still. He was talking to Nani for an
I didn't even want him on the panel. Imagine that.
But Shaka, listen to this though, fam.
Yeah.
Say like just for the purpose of debate today, yeah. So say you relate with one of the Afrikan tribes or one of the Nigerian tribes, like with Igbo or so and so or whatnot. Yeah, like would you not just for the point of trying to have a debate with, or do you know what I mean? That because if obviously all the African spiritual systems are not all synonymous with each other, innit?
No. I mean? But there's a few that I know more about, innit? So I can speak to them. There's a few that I can speak to more than others, innit?
Yeah. So that's I was trying to say that. So if you pick one of them ones that or the one that you're most strong that you know the most about, do you know what I'm saying? Like the one that you.
I'll pick a few. So I'd say, let's say Ifa. I'd say Vudan. I'd say the Kemetic spiritual system and the Afrikan spiritual system. But there are other things that I know about that. Like I might know of a concept. That I'm more familiar with.
How say any of them but Kemet. Anyone but Kemet, yeah, because it's going to get on black people's nerves here, but Kemet's getting on my nerves now because it's like everything always is like Kemet. Every Bible bash goes Kemet, and then every Muslim talks about, oh no, but we was in Kemet, and then you know what I mean? That sounds like.
The difference, whenever they say that, none of them actually speak on what the actual spiritual system in Kemet was. They all try to fit it into their own thing, in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
but then if that's what I'm trying to say, that's what I was going to say though. At the end, when it comes to criticizing, they want to criticize the realness of what actually really happened, or what they said the people think that how their shit was created. But
they can do that, bro. They can do that.
When a right man in fake Bible stories or fake Quranic stories of how man was in Egypt at this time and that time and the other.
Yeah. But if it was in Egypt, the God of Abraham was fighting against the of Kemet, innit? So like they can't make the argument, innit? It's begging it straight. So where's my man disappeared, didn't it?
Yeah. He ran off still. Like, but it's probably his reception still. So we give him a chance still. Give him a chance still. But yo, if anyone wants jump onto a question, anything about Ifa? What was the other one? Vudan.
Yeah.
No, I'm African spirituality in general, fam. Anybody can come in.
Yeah, African spirituality, in general.
Man don't know. You get me? But like,
that's what I'm trying to say. Because but that's what I'm trying to say to you, Shaq. You need to pick it from a list or whatever, and then stick to the ones on the list, because someone's going to Google African spiritual system that like 3 Africans practice that you don't know nothing about, that practice some weird shit. And they're gonna say, so what about this one then? What about that? And then what about this?
I've been in this for a long time, bro. Man's ready for that too. Anybody can come, bring anything from anywhere. Yeah, we bring a new stop to it. Yeah,
yeah, Shakara. Shakara.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When Free Brain Cells just jumped on, he did what I knew would happen. What he did is he stood in his square, refused to budge. He didn't actually come to learn. All he did was slyly come with a superiority complex. Hold on. And when he was asking legitimate, he wasn't actually here to learn. When you tell a fucking Abrahamic zombie, God, I'm not gonna lie, Shakira, that's on you, because you know.
But Ultra, that's the question that he asked. So he said, "What God do you worship?" So remember, what I asked him was, when you say what God, are you asking for a name or are you asking for a concept? Yeah. So in terms of what I believe God is, or are you asking for the name? Because when you deal with Abrahamic sometimes,
got the glasses and hat. I've got gloves. They've not sent them. Sorry, I was just on the phone with someone. Sorry,
When we're done. All right. So the other day, right? Ultra, you there? What? How come everyone jumping?
Yeah, yo, Ultra, you there still? My bad, I was on mute, man. I was talking to someone like, obviously need to wear this gloves and all this shit, man.
That's confused.
Yo, Ultra, his reception probably cut out, man. Yo, Freebie.
Yes, sir.
What are you saying? You had any more questions for Shax?
Right, so no, I want to ask the actual question. Yeah?
That was the only question. The question I wanted to ask was: Is God a being? To Shakara, is God a being?
Right, God. So all right, so God is not just like one being. God is the essence of all beings.
I agree with that.
So you're saying we're all gods?
I'm saying that we all are manifestations of aspects of the ultimate creator.
Oh, so there's one God. So you believe in the ultimate creator. There's one God, right?
Yeah, that's an African spiritualist concept. The one.
Okay, so is that one? Okay, somehow is that one God a being?
Again, the one God, from an African spiritualist perspective, and I think I need to say that the point that Ultra is making is correct. That when we use the word God, because of the connotations associated with the word God, it's very difficult for people to overcome a certain level of programming as associated with their own concept of God. Yeah. So I'm using a word that I don't normally use to explain my own.
But how can I?
Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm using a word that I don't normally use to explain my understanding of the creator because of the problem, because of the things that are associated with it. Yeah. However, when we say is God a being? No, God is not a being, and like God is the essence of all beings. So the creator creates all. Yeah, and that the ultimate basic what's it called, vital force, yeah, in creation, that is in layman's terms what we would define as the creator.
Oh man, in short, the fella, man, it's the same people, man. It's the same thing, the same shit, just different toilet. He's just coming at a different lingo. It's the same thing though, but it all matches up. Even that's why it was easy for the Africans to accept Islam, because of the concept of God matched the concept of their ancestors, which by definition, Alif, Lam, Mim. Alif means first, Lam means provider, Mem has the number, of Ha, not Mem, but Ha, Alif, Lam, Ha. Ha is life. So by definition of the root letter for Allah is the first provider of life. That's it. Where we get caught up in the translations and the interpretations. Oh, well, over there they say K. Over there is B. So how do you know if this is it? The definition is the same. We're just using different lingo. Peace.
Okay. So Shakara, do you have scriptures?
Yes. There we don't have scriptures in the same way that that you would regard the Bible or the Quran.
You don't always have to refer to me. You don't always have to refer to me. You just have to talk about yourself.
I'm not only referring to you, but if you're going to ask me not to do that, then you need to not impose your concepts and what it is I'm saying.
No, I'm just no. So a question is imposing. A question is trying to find out something.
I'm not referring to your last question. I'm referring to what happened before you dropped off, because I was trying to answer your question, and you jumped out the window with a whole set of assumptions. Yeah, which
so again,
I'm asking you.
So again, without referring to me. Do you have any scriptures?
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm saying to you, I don't have to refer to you, but I'm saying to you that if I'm not going to refer to you, then it would be beneficial if you do me the courtesy of not imposing certain things on what it is I'm saying. So try to listen to what I'm saying and understand it.
How am I imposing anything when I'm asking you a question?
I'm not saying that you asking me a question is imposing. I'm saying that before you dropped off, yeah, when I was trying to answer your question and you interrupted me with an imposition. Yes, so I'm asking you not to do that, and I won't refer to you. Okay, all right.
Fair enough.
In this instance, though, I'm not necessarily referring to you as in the sense of judgment. I understand that there are people that have an idea of what Holy Scriptures are. So I'm making a comparison in order to differentiate. Yeah. So what people's concepts of Holy Scriptures are, we don't have that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Of course, we're all different. We're all different. Of course.
So I'm explaining that. Okay. And I think that's a legitimate explanation. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So. Right. So what you generally have in African spiritual systems is accumulated sacred wisdom. Yeah. Accumulated sacred wisdom is done through ancestral lineages, basically. So that the wisdom of the ancestors is preserved for future generations. And within the wisdom of the ancestors, you will find the various different concepts of what people refer to as deities, which are in fact principles, yeah, that are given sacred meaning and preserved through mythologies, parables, narratives of people's history, etc., etc., etc. So in ancient Kemet, this is we refer to this today as Medjunetta, yeah. But there is no one book called Medjunetta. The Medjunetta is a term that basically is used to refer to the accumulated wisdom, yeah, of the ancients in Kemet. In Ifa, this is referred to as Oduifa, yeah, which is the accumulated wisdom of the realm of our people, which there are 256 verses made up, encompassing the wisdom of 16 Odu, yeah, and there are more. Well, I should say 256 basic ones. There are more when you go more into the deeper sciences and so on and so forth. Now, not all of the sacred texts across traditions are as codified as, let's say, the Medjunetta or the Ifa system. You know what I'm saying? They manifest in different ways, and oftentimes they're not written down, they're oral traditions.
Why are they sacred?
Oral transmission, mouth to ear. My ancestors done the same thing.
Why do you call them sacred?
Because there's a few reasons for that. The first one is that divinity in the African spiritual consciousness is linked to nature itself. Yeah. Nature itself is sacred, okay? And so the lessons that we draw from nature are often codified, and those lessons are considered to be sacred. Then there are aspects of principles, yeah, that are considered to be beneficial to human development, cultivation, and civilization. And so in the African spiritual consciousness, these principles are given a sacred place within the minds of the people. Then there is the fact that we venerate our ancestors because it is through our ancestors that the creative life force brings us into existence. So the ancestral lineage itself is sacred, right?
Come on, Shakara.
So
the thing. Come on.
So the consciousness, yeah, and the wisdom, and because we learn from our elders, and when our elders become ancestors, the things that they teach us are sacred, because without them, we wouldn't have knowledge, we wouldn't have wisdom, we wouldn't have understanding. So those lessons and knowledge can be documented and preserved in various different forms, and they may become part of the sacred knowledge of the people.
So the scientists today that give you information about nature, are they sacred?
They might be, in the sense that, but the scientist today tends to divorce knowledge from spirituality, whereas in the African spiritualist concept, that dichotomy doesn't take place. So if we look at the water, and we understand the water cycle, for example, you would understand it in its physical, or should I say in its material and its non-material sense. Yeah, or let's say we would seek to understand it in its material and its non-material sense, whether we understand it fully or not. But we would acknowledge that within water there is an essence that connects the water to the rest of existence, and so we would give expression to that in some kind of way, shape, or form, based upon full, complete understanding, or just what we have attained in terms of understanding.
Okay. So this spirituality do you have any practices of worship in it?
Practices of worship. There are various practices of worship. Okay. So for example, I should explain this. There are whereas you have a name, yeah, in African spiritual systems, yeah, for the ultimate divine force, the ultimate creator, yeah. There are spiritual systems that direct so-called worship to the divine creator, but there are other spiritual systems that consider worship as we understand it to be like a diminishment of the ultimate creator. Because if the ultimate creator is the ultimate creator, why does he, quote unquote, or she or it need our worship? Yeah, like it will be considered beneath the concerns of the ultimate divine force to require us to worship it. Yeah, this would be considered a belittlement, and so oftentimes you have a concept whereby the creator is the encompassing force that keeps order within the creation itself, but that doesn't necessarily intervene in the affairs of man. Yeah, and so rituals are geared towards facilitating balance and harmony between ourselves and the creation of the creator. Does that make sense? Yeah. So a lot of rituals are centered around forces in nature. So you have rituals that centers around rivers, rituals that centers around fire, rituals that center around air, rituals that center around the life cycle. Yeah, the birthing of children, the passing away of elders. The bringing of children into adulthood, and these kinds of things.
Okay, but how do we get our moral compass from nature?
So, because in essence, you could argue that the basic aspect of nature, what allows nature to manifest itself, is life. Yeah. So the idea is learning about the preservation and the cultivation, the perpetuation of life, yeah. And so moral compass is developed over time. So there's no point at which we claim to have the ultimate moral understanding. We are continuing to develop our moral understanding through what we learn from nature.
So according to you, the Most High you believe in didn't send us a moral code.
The Most High that I believe in did send us a moral code, and the laws of the Most High are encoded in nature, in the laws of nature itself.
But you just said that it wasn't complete, so now it's complete.
No, I didn't say that. I said our understanding of it may not be complete. We would not claim to have the complete understanding of the creator and the creation. We understand that there's always to learn.
Okay, where did the Most High say he sent us our moral code in nature? Where did he say that?
by creating us within the context of nature itself. So when you look at the fact that we live in a universe that contains predictable laws, we do not consider those predictable laws to be distinct or absent from the essence or the nature of the creative life force itself.
So you're saying that we can derive moral principles from nature?
Yes, sir.
Okay, homosexuality, is that in nature?
In my understanding, no, it's not, sir.
It's not in nature. Okay. Well, why do we have homosexuals?
But for the same reason that we have a lot of different things in existence. The fact of not being, it is possible for human beings to not live according to the laws of nature. It's possible for human beings to pollute water, to kill, you know, to do things that are destructive.
So are you saying homosexuals are mentally ill?
I'm simply saying that I don't consider I don't consider homosexuality to be a natural way of relating, of human beings relating.
Does that mean that they're sick people?
It could mean that. It could mean that.
Okay, fair enough. But they would say that they have a natural inclination towards the same sex.
Yeah, and they're entitled to their opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. What about, for example, in my religion, women should cover up their whole body. What about your way of life?
There is no one way to dress in like if I take African spiritual systems collectively, there are some systems where you know there are different dress codes, if that makes sense. As it stands at the moment, I believe that that there are two aspects of our present day reality that we need to bear in mind, yeah, particularly for us, and that is the over-sexualization of women, but it's also the perversion as associated with sex. So when it comes to certain African cultures, whereby people dress scantily, like the Dinka, for example, the over-sexualization of the body, the hypersexualization of the body is not a factor to consider in that regard. So there is no rule saying that women must cover up head to toe, and there is also no rule saying that women must be naked 24/7 either.
But isn't it part of our human nature to have a sense of shame?
Yes, but shame. Well, I don't know yet, actually. I'll have to think about that one. At the same time,
you don't know. Come on, you don't know.
Well, I said I'll have to think about it. I don't know if it's human nature. Okay, I think that shame is human nature. Okay. Let
me just put it this way: Have you ever seen a woman walk down the road and pull her skirt down?
No, but yes, I have actually.
You haven't?
Sorry. Repeat your question. Maybe I haven't answered it properly. Sorry.
Have you ever seen a woman walk down the road and feel ashamed, and then she pulls her skirt down?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's because she has a sense of shame.
Yeah, but if I go among the Dinka people, women don't. There are many women that don't wear skirts, so they wouldn't have a skirt to pull on. So that's. So I'm asking you.
So according to you, they don't have a sense of shame.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they're not shameful of their bodies. There's a difference between not having a sense of shame and making the body the object of shame. There are many in African spiritual systems. The body is not an object of shame. So whether one covers up or not, shame. The idea of shame being attached to the body probably doesn't exist. Like it wouldn't be considered.
So how?
That doesn't mean. Sorry, that doesn't mean that there are not ideas around propriety, yeah, and how one should dress under certain circumstances. It just means that shame may not be the driving force behind why those decisions are made. Hey,
yeah, but it's part of our nature.
I mean, you're entitled to argue that. I don't think that bodily shame.
What is part of our nature? Shame.
To have a sense of modesty.
But it could be argued that that's something that's been imposed over time, right? Because apparently originally everyone was naked, apparently.
So hold on. So when you see someone do something, you're telling me sometimes you don't find that shameful.
But these are the point being that these are all things that have been conceptualized, isn't it?
Yeah,
these are concepts.
It's a social construct. It's a social construct, and I know.
Thank you. Sorry, Bab. Go on. Sorry, Bab.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with social constructs, but we have to recognize that they are social constructs. You see what I'm saying? So the idea of modesty, just
like God, is a construct and concept.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the idea of modesty being associated with shame being associated with the body. Yeah, that's not. I don't consider that to be natural. Like we're born naked. Yeah, and babies. I've got a 1-year-old. He feels no shame to walk around the house starkers. Yeah, he will develop that sensibility as he gets older and learns about the world that he lives in and so on and so forth. But if he was to walk around outside today and I took him out naked, he wouldn't feel no shame whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? In fact,
I had a funny statement in regards to the whole observing nature thing. I was just thinking to myself, good thing the women in those African tribes didn't observe the nature of praying mantis.
Buddy boy,
that's gonna take a while to sink in, but
buddy boy, yeah, that's an interesting statement right there. Still,
well, when the female, I'll just get to the point. When the female praying mantis is done mating with the male, she chops the head off of the male. So,
indeed, you know.
Bro, do you value modesty?
Do I value modesty? I think within our social reality today, there's a place for it. But not just in women. In men.
No, I'm just asking you if you value it. Again,
within the social reality that we're living in today, I think that because of hypersexualization and these kinds of things, I think that there is a place for it, because I believe that there is a lot of work that we need to do on ourselves as human beings in terms of being able to relate to each other sexually. And whereas the body of the woman has been over-sexualized and hyper-sexualized, I believe that there is some work that we need to do psychologically in terms of addressing that reality.
But how does that? But they'll just tell you that's my nature. I'm expressing my nature.
And they're entitled to that. And I think to some degree they're correct. I don't believe that
But you want it both. But you want it both ways. You want modesty, and then you want the expression of nature.
Yeah, but why is modesty the opposite of expression of nature? I'm not.
Because someone expressing their sexuality, you wouldn't class it as being modest.
No, you can express sexuality and be modest, but at the same time, I don't think modesty.
What?
I don't think. Well, human beings are sexual beings, sir. So the expression of just being a man, I'm expressing sexuality in some way, shape, or form. I may not be being.
Human beings are sexual beings in private, not public.
I may not be. No, that's not the case. Sexuality is not just about having sex, and this is the reductionist thinking that comes with sex sometimes. Yeah. However, the idea of modesty, as I said once again, is a social construct, and bearing in mind our social reality today, I would argue that modesty has its place. I don't have a concept of modesty that would seem to sync completely with what you are putting forward right now. But yeah, I don't reject modesty, but I also don't reject sexuality.
But to me that just says you want the best of both worlds.
You're entitled to your opinion. I've said what I've said.
Okay, so is modesty a good thing?
African tribes, they do dress a little modest. Like they might have a little bit of hide from the corn or a tree bark to kind of cover, the penis. Like there's certain, most tribes are covered.
No, but it depends. But that's but I said that already. There's no universal law regarding how people should dress, like in the African spiritual system.
Yeah, I agree. Like universally, everyone does cover up.
If you go to the Dinka people, yeah, and you find some of them exist in places whereby the majority of people are naked. This is not there's not hypersexualization in that society. So their idea of modesty is different to yours. They're not seeing themselves as immodest because they can see each other's bodies. The concern about shame as attached to the physical being doesn't exist in the same way as we conceptualize it. And
it's not it's not the mere fact. It's not the mere fact of having sexuality. It's the behavior you use your sexuality for.
What's your point? Sorry, well, I'm not understanding.
I'm talking about the behavior. People, like for example, the sexualization in hip hop music with women. Right? You would agree that has a detrimental effect on young girls, right?
But again, I know you're
what are you talking about?
Again, I have said
I'm talking about how people express their sexuality.
Yes, and I've said I would consider that to be an element of hypersexualization. I'm not champion. I've already said I believe that hypersexualization is a problem, and that there are things that we need to do to address hypersexualization. But the nakedness of women in hip hop music videos, quote unquote, is not the same as the nakedness of women among indigenous nations all around the world, not just in Africa, whereby women or people in general may not cover up their bodies. Yeah, those societies are not. The lack of covering up is not based around hypersexualization. So I would not judge those societies in the same way I would judge a music video.
Okay,
they stay in that territory, then they can dress the way they dress.
So hold on. So you're saying that do you fit more in? Do you fit with more of the people that live in Africa that live that way, or do you fit with more the Western style of expressing your sexuality?
In terms of how I dress daily,
because if you express your sexuality the African way, you shouldn't be wearing clothes.
No, because again,
why are you talking nonsense, man? You're just talking.
It's ridiculous. As I've said,
you're talking nonsense, man. Like,
how am I talking nonsense?
I would like to actually answer today's topic.
If you say my sexuality is based on the African way, then you shouldn't be wearing clothes in the West.
You just sound stupid, man.
If it helps, I'd like to answer today's topic question.
How? So it seems like if you don't follow those traditions back home, then you have an inferiority complex. I suppose.
So the idea that Africans don't wear clothes is that's your imposition on what I've said. I have not said that, so I'm not even gonna.
I'm just saying if that's your way of life, then you shouldn't be wearing clothes.
It's what's my way of life?
Not wearing clothes back home.
Yeah, but I haven't said that not wearing clothes is my way of life.
But you said that's an African way, right?
I am saying that there are some groups of African people whereby the lack of clothes in certain areas, whereby clothing that covers the whole body may not be a 100% cultural thing.
Hold on a minute, Shakira, 1 second, pause 1 second. Where are you from, Bab?
Who?
You.
Me. It's not about me today.
Where are you from? Where are you from?
It's not about me today.
Where are you? What's your nationality? Yo, what's your nationality?
The show's not about me. The show's not about me.
What is your nationality?
It is not about me today.
So you're not
African spiritual.
What's your where are you from? Where are you from?
It's not about me.
So you're not gonna answer. You're not gonna answer.
It's not about me. The show's not about me.
You're stupid, man. If you're here, aren't you?
The show's not about me. It's about Shaka Ra.
What do you mean it's about Shaka Ra? What are you talking about? It's about Shaka Ra.
Shaka Ra. You said, yeah. You said
is
that.
Shaka Ra's name in the title?
Because
is Shaka Ra's name in the title?
Because Shaka Ra follows
name in the title.
The title implies him. Anyways.
See, that's what I'm saying. You see, you use very lazy language, you know. Yeah.
Shaka Ra. Can I speak to Shaka Ra? Okay, go on, speak.
No, but I want to know where you're from.
It's not about me.
I was going to say in short before it, gets all into that vibration, that my reason for why I feel we're not winning as an African spiritual system is the lack of trust and unity between one another. That's what I would say.
No, I don't know why they would call it African spiritual system. They'll generalize the name, and then when you specify one practice, they say, "Oh, that's not me." So, like, just speak for you. Why are you calling it African?
So the term. So now I must explain African spirituality. Yeah, is that what you're asking?
No. I'm saying specify what part of Africa you're talking about when you talk about your spiritual system. Don't call it African, because if you're going to deny some practices, then it's not all. When you say African, you're talking about every African here. You're generalizing it.
When I did not necessarily. That's your interpretation of what it is I'm saying, and you're entitled to your opinion. But
so how do you understand what Africa?
But if I say that there are some Africans who dress this way and some Africans who dress that way, what makes one more African than the other?
No, it doesn't make one more African than the other.
Right.
But it's what you label yourself. Okay, so what's your spiritual system called?
No, if one can be African and the other can be African, then I am not disavowing any. If the other one, if I dress in the manner of one, it doesn't make
right.
Yeah,
so, I know. But if you're talking to a non-African, and say African,
so dressing
that blankets every African.
But then if you or any non-African wants to make that assumption, then they're entitled to their opinion. Like I'm not here to convince non-Africans about what Africans are. Like
it's not an assumption. It's your job to break it down.
But if an individual is unable to fathom the idea that my individual expression of dress does not encompass the entirety of Africa and what is African, then that's their problem. It's not my problem. So if you, sir, are unable to do that, that's not my problem. You know what I'm saying? That's your problem.
Okay, when someone says African, what am I supposed to vision?
African is the terminology that relates to the collective expression of culture indigenous to the African continent.
Exactly. So when you say something is African, I'm going to visualize Africa, right?
Yes. That
exactly. But then if you tell me this is an African spiritual practice, the person that's non-African does not have the responsibility of thinking, oh, which tribe does it come from? Where
I'm not putting that responsibility on them. I'm not putting that responsibility on them. I'm saying that if a person is unable to fathom the fact that if a Zulu dresses one way, and a Kikuyu dresses one way, and an Ashanti dresses one way, that if they're unable to fathom the idea that all three dress styles can be African, the problem is with them. It's not with me.
So you're saying it's not your responsibility to be specific.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'll be specific when the circumstance calls for it. But in my specificity, if an individual is unable to fathom that all three dress styles, using the example that I just gave, can be defined as African, then the problem is with them. It's not with me.
What do you mean when the circumstances call for it? Whenever you're explaining something, you have to be specific.
If I dress, let's say I wear kente, yeah. Let's say I wear kente, and kente being an Akan cloth, yeah. And so if I dress that way and I call it African, and I say that to somebody, and they're only able to conceive of African dress by what I am wearing at that present moment in time, yeah. And they ask me, well, is this African dress? And I say, yes, it's an African dress from Akan, but then the Zulu dress in this way or whatever. If they're unable to fathom that, then that's the problem is with them.
Yo, but the fact that you actually specified it that it's from Akan, that's the point. You specified it.
But I just specified it for you previously, sir. So if I
say... No, the moment you say this is an African dress from this place, now you've specified it.
But I don't need to specify in order for it to be African. My specification doesn't make it any less African. So the fact that it's Akan doesn't make it any less African. If it's Somali, it doesn't make it any less African. If it's Zulu, it doesn't make it any less African. If it's Kikuyu or Bakongo or Heleno, yeah, it doesn't make it any less African.
I never said it made it less African. I said it's a blanket statement on all Africans.
It's a collective statement.
Exactly, but that's wrong because not all Africans dress like you.
Oh boy.
I'll just say both of you guys are correct, but the chat is throwing it out there that we need to move on.
I don't understand. Yeah, this is a ridiculous.
Exactly. It's a blanket statement you're putting on all. You're saying this is an African dress.
This is a ridiculous reason.
So from an American perspective, if I say I dress American and you see I have an LA hat on, like it doesn't mean that everyone in America has an LA hat on. Like I get what both people are saying though, but it doesn't change the fact that it is an American hat that has LA on it, you know, like Los Angeles.
And when you go further and
in
you talk
America,
about
it's not from Los Angeles.
The problem is
exactly, and when you
problem is though is that people are unable to factor complexity and variety of expression in what is called African. They can do it for everything else, yeah. So people, generally speaking, understand that even within different identities, there are different styles of dress and there are different modes of doing things. When it comes to African, they can only be, you can only conceive of it as being one.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me ask you this, yeah. The most high, yeah, go on.
Because people find it very difficult to divorce the concept of African from things like primitive and simple and them kind of things there. So they can't fathom complexity. They can't fathom the idea. That
okay, hold on.
One second. That even among just in the same way that in Britain we have fashion. They can't fathom the idea that even in individual African people groups, yeah, that they can have fashion. You know what I'm saying? Whereby you know the culture is able to accommodate different styles of dress. Yeah, they can't fathom that idea. You know what I'm saying? Because we walk down Britain streets and there's different fashions, and so dresses this way, and so just. But when you put that in Africa, that concept can't exist. If you say African, then it means that everybody must be doing one thing. They must all look the same. No, get over that colonial mentality, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, so how many African spiritual systems are there in Africa?
I don't know. There's countless. There's a number of different ones, and a lot of them, however, are
about 72.
and they're all from the same God.
So I don't know. I'm struggling to understand that question. They're all from the same God.
Are they from the same God? Like you say, you have the Most High. They also say they have the Most High. They're all African.
Yeah. So I'd say that there's variations of names, but generally speaking, African spiritual systems have a nature-based concept of God.
So why are they all different if they all come from nature? Why are they all different?
In the same way that you could have religions that claim Abraham and be different.
That's not answering the question.
They're different because people's cultures develop different.
But nature is one, right?
Yes, and so is God. But people appreciate God in different ways. You know what I'm saying?
I never asked. It's got nothing to do with appreciation. I never asked anything about appreciation.
Why are there 72 different Muslim sects?
I'll explain.
Also, these are different sects now.
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you a question because you're trying to pin something down. So I'm asking you. Yeah, there's one God, one Islam, whatever. Why are there 72 different sects? And amongst them, why is only one of them the right one?
interpretation, but I'm asking Shakara, how can people hold on. But I'm asking Shakara.
Whoa, calm down. Beautiful. What did you say? Interpretation.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So then, if that's
hold
your
on.
answer,
so in Africa, there's 72 types of interpretation of nature.
Wait.
That's funny.
You said interpret. You said interpretation, yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking, how is there 72 ways of interpreting nature?
I'll tell you why.
Okay, well, when I used the word 72, I was just taking the piss, yeah, first and foremost, but clearly it went over your head, yeah. Okay, but remember, do you have an understanding of what African spiritual? Do you actually have an understanding of what you're questioning?
I know, I'm trying to find out. That's why I'm questioning.
These are your questions to try to find out what it's about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So
I do find it interesting. There is a tribe.
That's what Shakara's here for. Shakara's here to get questioned.
If I may, there's a tribe of people called the
I think you need to better your line of questioning, to be honest.
By the way, I do want to make it. I mean, at the moment, like, in respect to the question is still, but it's pretty low level, and I'm very conscious of the fact that all of my Abrahamic brothers and sisters are going to want to get at, man. Do you know what I'm saying? So feel free to do so. Jump on. You know what I'm saying? I said when they drop it, yeah, I'll stay here all day and take all challenges. So feel free to come through. I won't disrespect anybody. And yeah, it's not unusual for brothers and sisters in the world's major religions to all form an alliance in order to demonize African spirituality, or challenge it, or discredit it, respectfully or disrespectfully. So I'm ready for all those things, and I welcome them. In relation to your last question, what's I don't know what your name is. What's your name?
D. EB.
ED.
Yeah.
Right. ED. The reason why there'll be different expressions of African spirituality from a nature-based perspective is because there is not only one expression or manifestation of nature. Yeah. So if I'm in an environment whereby a certain type of land, yeah, is abundant, yeah. Or let's say I'm in a river-based society, yeah, that my expression of African spirituality will be molded around the environment that I'm in. If I'm in a region that is foresty, then my expression of African spirituality would also be molded around the environment that I'm in. Does that make sense? So if I'm in a place here, I can use the example of Africans on the continent and Africans in the diaspora. There are things, or let's say there's a particular herb, yeah, that is used in a particular ritual that we have on the continent. When we were shipped from the continent to the Caribbean, we may not find that same herb, but we might use something that is similar. We find in our environment. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's all it is. That's not a particularly complex thing to understand.
What's nature got to do with spirituality? Is what I'm asking.
You asked me a question about why, if it's based upon nature, yeah, then why are there different systems? So I'm explaining to you that if nature doesn't, our relationship with nature is not the same everywhere that we are on the planet, because in different areas of the planet you have different climates and different terrains that all encompass what we call nature. Yeah, so our spiritual system, or our culture in general, not just our spiritual system, is going to be molded around what our experience in the environment that we're in is.
It's like a social, environmental type of influence, like with the Chinese and Hindus.